My friend, if you do not respect yourself today, do not despair. Do not label yourself as broken, weak, or lost. You are not finished. You are merely unformed. You are the sculptor staring at raw marble, unaware that the masterpiece lies within your own hands. The greatest mistake a person can make is to believe that self-respect is something granted by the world. It is not. It is earned, forged, and commanded through the daily actions you take and the standards you refuse to lower. When you look into the mirror and see someone you do not admire, that is not your enemy. That is your assignment. That is the version of you that must be rebuilt, refined, and reborn. You must begin where all builders begin, with a vision. Ask yourself, what kind of person would I respect? Write it down. Define it clearly. See it so vividly that your mind begins to accept it as fact. Then act as if that version of you already exists, because it does. The moment you decide, it is born. Every decision, every small act of discipline, every refusal to settle chisels away at the old and reveals the new. You cannot think weak thoughts and expect strong results. You cannot surround yourself with decay and expect growth. You must demand from yourself what others would never dare to expect. Self-respect is not about arrogance. It is about integrity, doing what you said you would do, long after the emotion in which you said it has faded. It is about refusing to negotiate with your excuses. Understand this truth. The world treats you as you treat yourself. If you walk with your head down, ashamed of your past, your environment will mirror that shame. But if you rise with conviction in your heart and discipline in your hand, life will kneel before that certainty. You don't respect yourself. Then build a version that you do build it through early mornings when you feel tired. Build it through studying while others waste hours. Build it through keeping promises no one else sees. Build it through silence when others complain. One day you will meet the version of yourself that you once dreamed of, and that meeting will be worth every ounce of struggle. Respect yourself enough to start now. The new version of you is waiting, not in some distant future, but in your next decision. Self-respect is the root of all achievement. It is the invisible foundation upon which every act of greatness is built. Without self-respect, talent withers, ambition collapses, and opportunity becomes meaningless. When you respect yourself, you carry within you an unshakable belief that you are worthy of success, worthy of growth, and worthy of every good thing that life can offer. That belief becomes a magnetic force that draws power, discipline, and determination toward you. But when you lack self-respect, even the smallest obstacles look like mountains, and even the greatest opportunities appear undeserved. You cannot build a palace of success on the ruins of self-contempt. The mind that doubts itself will sabotage every plan it creates. The person who secretly believes they are not enough will unconsciously reject progress, relationships, and success because deep inside they feel unworthy of them. Respect for yourself is not vanity, it is sanity. It is the mental armor that protects you from the whispers of fear and the poison of comparison. Self-respect begins when you make a promise to yourself and keep it. Each small act of discipline is a brick in the fortress of your dignity. When you say, "I will wake up early," and you do it, your mind records a victory. When you decide to study, to work, to improve, and you follow through, your inner self takes note. Gradually, your subconscious begins to trust you. It starts to believe that your words carry weight. That belief is power. That is where real confidence is born, not from applause, not from validation, but from self-trust built through consistency. The person who does not respect themselves looks for approval from others, desperate for a sense of worth that should come from within. But the person who respects themselves stands calm amid noise. They no longer need to beg for acceptance because they understand that their value is not up for debate. Such a person becomes unstoppable because their motivation no longer depends on the opinions of others. They act with purpose, guided by principle, not by applause. To respect yourself means to hold yourself to a higher standard, even when no one is watching. It means refusing to lie to yourself, refusing to shrink to please others, refusing to settle for less than your potential. The world mirrors the image you project from within. If you see yourself as powerless, life will confirm it through failure and rejection. But if you carry yourself as capable, worthy, and disciplined, life will conspire to prove you right. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not about thinking you are better than others. It is about knowing that you are accountable to the person in the mirror, the only one you cannot deceive. You may fool the world with charm or clever words, but you cannot lie to your conscience. When your actions betray your own values, guilt takes root and self-respect begins to erode. But when your behavior aligns with your inner truth, your confidence grows unshakable. Every great achievement in history began with a mind that respected itself enough to dream boldly and persist relentlessly. Think of the inventors, the builders, the leaders, and the artists who shaped civilization. They faced doubt, criticism, and ridicule, yet they pressed forward because they believed their vision was worthy of pursuit. That belief did not come from the crowd, it came from within. It came from self-respect, from the conviction that their lives had meaning and their efforts had value. Self-respect turns pain into fuel. It transforms failure into wisdom. It converts every setback into a lesson, because the person who respects themselves refuses to be defined by defeat. They say, "This happened, but it does not decide who I am." Such a person grows stronger with every trial because they understand that loss is temporary, but dignity is permanent. To cultivate self-respect, you must become your own guardian. Guard your thoughts from negativity. Guard your time from waste. Guard your body from neglect. Every time you protect your mind and energy, you declare to yourself, "I am worth this effort." And when that declaration becomes habitual, your external world begins to transform. If you want to achieve more, start not with goals, but with self-respect. Ask yourself, do I truly act as someone who values their own life? Do you eat, think, and live like someone who believes they deserve peace and progress? Self-respect is not found in grand gestures. It is found in daily decisions. It lives in the discipline to say no to distractions, to say yes to growth, and to remain faithful to your purpose even when no one applauds. Without self-respect, motivation fades, focus breaks, and dreams dissolve. With self-respect, you rise from every fall with greater strength. You no longer chase validation. You create it through your actions. You walk with a quiet power that others can feel, not because you are loud, but because you are certain. Self-respect is the foundation upon which all achievement stands. It is the unseen force that turns ordinary men and women into leaders, creators, and conquerors of destiny. When you respect yourself, you give yourself permission to succeed. You begin to act like the person you were always meant to become. And in that moment, your life begins to shift, not by chance, but by choice. So if you wish to achieve, start here. Respect yourself enough to believe you can. Respect yourself enough to act when it's hard. Respect yourself enough to never settle for less than your potential. Because when you master self-respect, every other victory becomes inevitable. You are not fixed. You are built. Every cell in your body, every thought in your mind, every habit you live by is in a constant state of change. Nothing about you is permanent unless you decide to make it so. The person you are today is not the final version of who you can become. It is simply a reflection of the choices, thoughts, and beliefs you have accepted up until this moment. You are not a finished product. You are a project under construction. And the most powerful truth you can ever embrace is that you have the authority to rebuild yourself as many times as necessary. Too many people live as prisoners of their past, convinced that who they were yesterday defines who they must be tomorrow. They chain themselves to old stories. "I've always been shy, I'm not disciplined, I can't change," and those words become their invisible walls. But the truth is this: your habits are not your identity. Your past is not your prison. The moment you decide to take command of your life, everything that once seemed permanent begins to shift. You are built through choice and repetition. The thoughts you repeat become beliefs. The actions you repeat become habits. The emotions you entertain become your mood, and your mood becomes your personality. What you call yourself is the result of countless repetitions, practiced often enough to appear natural. That means you can unlearn weakness the same way you once learned it, through consistent action in the opposite direction, Every day, every decision, every discipline adds another layer to the person you are becoming. You are not fixed. You are built, and that is both a liberation and a responsibility. It means you cannot blame fate or circumstances for who you are. It means you have the power, but also the duty to design yourself with purpose. You can train your mind to think differently, your emotions to respond differently, and your habits to serve your goals rather than sabotage them. Each time you take control of a thought, you lay a brick in the foundation of your new self. Each time you resist an old impulse, you strengthen your inner architecture. Think of yourself as an architect standing before an empty plot of land. The blueprint of your life lies in your imagination, waiting for your decision. Do you build small, fragile structures that collapse at the first sign of adversity, or do you design something strong, a life grounded in discipline, vision, and self-belief? The materials you use are your daily choices. What you think, what you consume, who you associate with, how you respond to struggle. These are the building blocks of character. Every day you are constructing or destroying, strengthening or weakening. There is no pause, no neutral ground. You are always building something. The question is what? Many people wait for motivation before they act, but builders don't wait. They build despite the weather. They build through exhaustion, through uncertainty, through fear. Motivation may start you, but discipline sustains you, and discipline repeated long enough becomes identity. That's when change becomes permanent, not because the world got easier, but because you became stronger. The mind is a workshop, not a storage room. It is not meant to hold on to old pain or self-doubt. It is meant to create. Every time you imagine yourself stronger, calmer, or wiser, you plant a seed. But imagination alone is not enough. The seed must be watered with action. You build a new version of yourself, not by wishing, but by doing. Want to be confident? Speak up once more than you did yesterday. Want to be disciplined? Keep one promise to yourself today. Each small act is a hammer strike shaping your new identity. There will be times when you fall back into old patterns, when your mind whispers, see, you haven't changed. But understand this, progress is not perfection. Construction sites are messy. Steel beams lie scattered, dust fills the air, and chaos seems to reign. Yet the structure rises day by day. The same is true for you. Growth is uncomfortable because you are tearing down old walls to make space for something better. Don't mistake discomfort for failure. It is evidence of transformation. You are built through adversity more than through comfort. The moments that hurt, the challenges that test your patience, the failures that shake your confidence, these are the furnaces that shape your strength. When life pushes you to your limits, it is not trying to destroy you. It is inviting you to rebuild stronger. Pain is the sculptor of power if you refuse to give up. Understand that no one else can build you. People may inspire you, but they cannot construct your mindset. They may guide you, but they cannot enforce your discipline. The work of transformation belongs solely to you. That is what makes it sacred. When you begin to build yourself brick by brick, the respect you gain is not from the world. It comes from within. That quiet pride, that sense of I did this, is worth more than applause or recognition. You are not fixed. You are built, rebuilt, and forever in progress. Each time you rise from failure, you add another layer of resilience. Each time you confront your fears, you reinforce your courage. Each time you keep going when you want to stop, you strengthen the foundation of your character. The version of you that once seemed impossible becomes inevitable through persistence. So, if you are not proud of who you are today, do not despair. You are under construction. You are the craftsman of your own destiny. Your thoughts are your tools. Your habits are your materials, and your vision is your blueprint. Tear down what is weak. Reinforce what is strong. Build daily, build deliberately, and build with purpose. Because you are not born complete. You are born capable. And the person you are becoming is limited only by the courage you have to keep building. Every weakness hides a seed of strength. The flaws you see in yourself, the insecurities you try to bury, and the failures that haunt your memory are not curses. They are invitations. Each one carries within it the potential for growth, for power, for mastery. Life does not hand you weaknesses to humiliate you. It gives them to you so that you may discover your strength by overcoming them. Every limitation is a lesson disguised, and every challenge is an opportunity in camouflage. When you look at the parts of yourself you dislike, your fear, your hesitation, your impatience, your self-doubt, you are looking at unrefined energy. It is raw material waiting for transformation. The emotion that makes you tremble can, when understood, become courage. The insecurity that keeps you silent can become empathy for others. The anger that burns inside can become fuel for change. The sadness that once broke you can become your greatest source of wisdom. But none of this happens automatically. It happens only when you face your weaknesses instead of fleeing from them. Most people run from their weaknesses because they confuse them with finality. They think weakness means I am not enough, when in truth it means I am not finished. Weakness is not a verdict, it is a challenge. It is a mirror showing you where your work lies. The pain you feel in your weakest areas is not punishment. It is potential calling you to rise. The weight of your flaws exists to strengthen you, not to break you. Imagine the seed buried in the soil. At first glance, it looks dead, small, fragile, insignificant. But inside that shell lies a mighty tree waiting to be born. For the seed to become what it was meant to be, it must first crack open. It must be buried in darkness, pressed by the soil, drenched by storms, and tested by time. Your weakness works the same way. The breaking is not the end, it is the beginning. When you feel like you are falling apart, what's really happening is that something powerful inside you is trying to emerge. The people who accomplish the most in life are not those who never fail or never fear. They are those who learn to turn their weaknesses into strength. The person who once struggled to speak in public becomes a communicator who moves hearts because they understand the pain of silence. The person who grew up insecure about their worth becomes a leader who lifts others because they know what it feels like to be unseen. The one who faced rejection learns resilience. The one who faced loss learns compassion. Every wound, when healed, becomes a source of light for others still in the dark. Strength does not come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from honesty, from looking your flaws in the face and saying, "You will not define me." True power is born from vulnerability understood and mastered. When you admit your weaknesses, you stop wasting energy hiding them and start using that energy to grow beyond them. What was once shame becomes strategy. What was once pain becomes power. The greatest fighters, creators, and visionaries have all known weakness deeply. They have all been broken, doubted, and defeated at some point. But they refused to let weakness be the end of their story. They examined it, learned from it, and reshaped it into strength. A sword is only strong because it was once molten metal, heated and hammered by fire. You too are shaped by the flames of difficulty. Your weaknesses are your forge, the place where you are refined. When life tests you, it is not trying to destroy you. It is revealing what needs to be strengthened. The fear you face again and again is not a punishment. It is a training ground. The failures you experience are not signs of incompetence. They are evidence that you are trying to grow. You cannot build strength in comfort. Muscles grow by resistance. So does character. Every time you push against your limitations, even if you move only an inch, you become stronger than before. There is no shame in weakness. Shame comes only when you refuse to confront it. Weakness ignored becomes a chain. Weakness faced becomes a weapon. To deny your flaws is to remain powerless over them, but to face them is to begin transforming them. When you accept your imperfections, not with resignation but with purpose, you open the door to greatness. Every weakness hides a seed of strength, but the seed only grows when you nurture it with awareness, effort, and persistence. You must water it with discipline and feed it with faith. You must keep tending to it even when you cannot yet see the results. Growth is slow, invisible, and sometimes painful, but it is always happening beneath the surface. One day, what once felt like your greatest weakness will become the very foundation of your confidence. Do not despise your struggles. They are shaping the strength you prayed for. The areas where you stumble most are often the same areas where you will one day lead others. The qualities that once embarrassed you may become the traits that define your uniqueness. Life does not waste pain. Every tear, every failure, every fall carries a lesson meant to mold you into the person you are capable of becoming. So when you feel weak, remind yourself this is not a flaw, this is a beginning. When you feel broken, understand that breaking